I'm Dustin Hoffmann of the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and this is Brazil. Come along with me on this series as I tour some of the agricultural areas of Brazil, from Minas Gerais and Brasilia to Mato Grosso and Rio de Janeiro. I will show you the farms, industries, and the people that have forged Brazil into a large player in the global ag marketplace. Hello, everyone. I'm Dustin Hoffmann of the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I want to welcome you to this second episode chronicling my trip earlier this year to the country of Brazil to tour their agricultural industry. When we think about dairy in the United States, we think of places like Wisconsin, Minnesota, the New England states, Pennsylvania, and even California. We think about other countries like Switzerland, France, and Canada. However, Brazil rarely comes to the top of mind. However, that dairy industry is there and thriving in the largest country in South America. I had the chance to visit the Seibt Family dairy while we were down in Minas Gerais, and we got to hear of how their hard work and persistence has grown a family function of just a few small head to one of the largest dairies in Brazil. Caroline Seipt's brother Alexandra and his wife Juliana took us through the family dairy operation and shared with us what they're doing to maximize their milk production, all while being environmentally responsible and sustainable. So how long has the dairy been in operation?
Quantos anos tem a operação inteira?
12 years.
12 years.
12 years.
Esse sistema, né?
This type of system.
Okay, how long ago did it start with the original?
Antigamente começou quando?
Antigamente começou há 30 anos atrás.
So essentially they've been producing milk here for over 30 years. It was in 12 years ago that they installed the carousel, but before that time they were producing milk here, and a lot of it was just in open air pens, and so the cattle then used to expend a lot of energy just kind of walking from those pens to the milking parlor. It was all milked by hand. So this way is a much more efficient, and they can produce more milk per cow these days.
And how much milk are they producing a day?
Quantos leite está produzindo por dia?
22.500.
22,500 liters a day.
Okay. And so, I've heard the story of how your family came, there was nothing here. Was a dairy always part of the plan, or was it an opportunity that just came up?
Meu pai sempre gostou de uma vaca leite.
So his father always liked dairy cattle. He would experiment with different types of races of dairy cattle. They started very small with 10 or 15 head, and they'd fill a little shed, and then they moved someplace else and fill that. And so it got to the point where then they had to really get serious, and they invested in these larger sheds.
And now all this milk goes to Nestle, correct?
Tudo esse leite vai para Nestle.
Esse da Nestle.
Yes. So they have about 220 calves here. These are all born and raised here on this farm. They will buy some that come outside the farm. Most of them are here. So they have 220 right now, and they take real good care of them, because they the way you raise them, and this is her explaining it to me, is they're very sensitive, and so you want to take very good care of them from the moment that they're born, because it can make a difference in the milk output later on.
Elas ficam em torno de 20 dias na casinha individual, depois elas passam para o coletivo.
So they spend their first 20 days in these individual crates, and then they move to these pens. Pasteurize all your milk?
Yeah, to start, in case you can't use it all up, you pasteurize your waste milk, like treated milk and stuff.
Se é dado leite pasteurizado para elas, nós temos esse tanque, que ele conserva na temperatura, tamanho que está na barriga, e manda para elas tomarem, mas não é pasteurizado.
It's not pasteurized here, but they'll keep it here temporarily and fed to the cow.
Sustainability and conservation are two key goals of the family farm. The Seibt family pushes the boundaries of that as far as they can and then push it a little more. One of the largest byproducts of animal agriculture is manure. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's a natural thing we all know about. However, when you can convert that manure not only into fertilizer, which they do for their coffee trees, but also use the raw material as a way to generate energy for the dairy operation, that's taking sustainability to another level.
Manure flows down here into these canals. You see here, and then it flows down here, and you see that machine over there that's separating the dry manure from the liquid. So the dry manure is where that where they're loading up there. That's the solid manure, and that gets spread on the coffee. So he says they reduce their the amount of fertilizer they need to buy by 45% just from this on the coffee. And then the liquid gets pumped across the street.
Fertirrigação e gera energia.
It gets pumped across the street. So behind that tree line, you can't see it from here, is the biogester. And so the liquid gets pumped over there. That fuels that biogester, which creates electricity. So their electricity needs are technically, they're selling it to the grid, and then they consume it back, but technically they're self-sufficient in their electricity needs.
So then technically that helps provide them for the whole operation.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fueling electricity for the whole farm.
That's what they're using elsewhere.
Yep. After they've harvested, they separate the coffee trash from the coffee bean, and they pile it up there, and that's what they use for the bedding. That's what they're seeing here. That's coffee residue right there.
So maybe that was the old trees they take down.
They could, yeah. I think it's mostly from the harvest.
Tanto o esterco, tanto a palha de café que eu uso na cama. Esterco também. Esterco do solo lá que eu falei, também é reposto na cama.
Ah, yeah?
Ele já faz tudo.
So they'll even take the manure, the dry manure, and they'll mix it with this coffee residue, and it hardens up, and that creates their bedding.
So obviously you said they rotate, they all milk 3 times a day. Does that mean that carousel is basically running all day long?
There's about a 3-hour interval between
each one?
Each one.
Okay. Last question I have, the time that this dairy has been going and he's been a part of it, what's been like his biggest, what does he feel most proud of what they've accomplished and what they plan for the future?
Mais orgulho de ver os animais como sistema.
Just their management methods have improved over the years. The way that they take care of the cattle have extended the life of the cattle, which then, of course, allows to produce more milk, which creates more return on their investment.
Tanto a vida produtiva do animal, tanto interagir a pecuária com a agricultura, onde eu aproveito todo o dejeto.
Also, back to the integration between the row crops, that's helped streamline the operation and reduce their costs.
Caroline tells us that they're not done yet. They plan to continue growing the family dairy operation, and we're not just talking by a little bit either. They're looking to increase it significantly.
We have a certain goal to expand our milk production about like 70% in 3 years.
I said, was this always in your dad's plan? And he said, yeah, he always wanted cows. It's just that he only got a couple at a time.
He had a passion with wholesome cows, like dairy. So he started like little for like not even thinking that would expand that much. But when the business starts growing, and that place that used to be before was not enough. Like we have to have like a quality of cows and the quality of milk. You had to plan a bigger facility. So that's why
Did it grow beyond what your dad even thought it would?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes.
Was bigger than the vision he had?
Yes.
I'm sure was quite proud of what he should be.
And their goal is expand even more.
Right. That's what Felipe was saying. Because I asked him, I said, now you had the legacy of your.
Because if you don't think like ahead, if you don't have the vision to, grow and to be quite big, what's the reason to keep going?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I know we talked about, your parents had that legacy of they started it.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, what's the legacy you want to give to your children?
What did he
and
say?
he just said, to keep it going, to make it bigger, to make it pay.
To keep it growing, but with
Self-sustainable.
self-sustainable credibility, because it's easy to lose like that, but to build all of we have, it takes time. It
You
took
can't
time.
you can't take a
Yeah,
shortcut.
exactly.
That's
It
not a
took
one
time.
generation thing.
Yes, no, it's not. That's why, thanks God that we are very, we do things together, and we preserve what we have.
Right.
But of course, you have to think ahead. You have to, have the vision to grow too.
It was easy to see the hard work and the pride that the Seibt family has put into that family dairy operation. It's making it very economically and environmentally sustainable and responsible and very efficient. It's a theme that they follow through all the facets of their family ag operation. I want to thank you for joining me on this second part of my trip to Brazil and invite you to come back for further episodes, as there is much more to come. Coming up in our next episode, we're going to travel back to the Seibt family farm and learn about their main seed production business, Semntes Gaúcha. We'll continue this coverage of my trip to Brazil here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.